Hey, what's up, everybody? St. R. Edwards here. Welcome back to Swift Coding for Everyone. In this lesson, we're going to continue on in section 3.1 in our book, App Development with Swift. In particular, we're going to talk about optional chaining. Now, as you can see from my screen, optional chaining is basically unwrapping optionals based on conditions. Now, there's two ways that you can do it. I'm going to show you guys the long way, and I'm going to show you guys the short way. So go ahead and open up a new playground and we're going to get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few classes and you can just follow along in your Xcode playground as we go along. Okay, so we're going to go class person for the first one. We're going to say var age is going to be int, and then we're going to say var we're going to say address is going to be actually our residence is going to be residence. We haven't created it yet, so we're going to get an error, which is fine. Class residence. I'm going to say var address is an address, optional. And our last one, we're going to go class address. Then we're going to say var building number, which would be a string, var street name will be a string, and when we're going to say var apartment number, and this will be a string optional. Alright, so with optional chaining, it's basically like having a box inside of a box, and that's because values can have optional properties, as you can see here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and create some initializers for these so we can silence these errors. And I'm going to go ahead and put age in here as an int. Residence is of type residence, optional, and then we're going to say self.age equals age, and then we're going to say self.residence equals residence. And then we're going to go here to our residence class. We're going to create an initializer for that. And I am going to say, sorry about that. I am going to say address. It's going to be a type address optional. And then self.address equals address, and then down here same thing. Alright, so we're going to go building number, string, we got street name, that's a string, and apartment number, that is a string optional. If I can spell. Alright, so self dot building number equals building number. Self dot street name. I need to make some space. Equals street name. And then we're going to go self dot apartment number equals apartment number. Alright guys, so if you haven't figured it out, basically in this example what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out if a person has a resident. Obviously everybody has an age, so a person has an age and a person may have a residence, and if they have a residence, they may have an address, and within that address they have a building number and a street name for sure, if they have that address, but they may not have an apartment number. So we're trying to figure out if the person has an apartment number. And we're gonna use some optional chaining. So like I said, I'm gonna go the long way and then we're gonna go the short way. First of all, what we need to do is we need to create an object of our person class and of our address class. And we don't need to necessarily do one for residents because it basically is an address. And so this is what we're going to do. So we're going to say var person address equals, all right, building number. I'll do something like that. 8732. You can do whatever you want. Street name, since it's currently Black History Month, I'm recording this February 20th, 2018. I'm going to go MLK Drive. Apartment number, I'm going to say 4468. And then var person, I'm going to say person. Do that. And then for the age and int, you can make that up, whatever, say, I don't know, 25 for age. And then for residence, what we can do is this. So we can say, what we're going to do is we're going to say address, and then we're going to open up another parentheses. And instead of doing all that jazz again, all we got to do is type in person address. My bad. So for residents, we gotta go residents, and then we gotta open it up. I did that wrong. All right, there we go. Person address. My bad. All right, so now we have our two objects that we need for our optional chaining sequence that's about to occur. So this is what we'll do. So we're gonna say if let the person equals, and we're gonna go, what is this? Oh, person dot residence. We're gonna do a curly brace, and then we're gonna go if let the residence equals, and then we're gonna go the person dot resident or dot address, and then we're going to do another curly brace, and then we're going to say if let the apartment number equals the residence dot apartment number. This is what we want to do. So we're going to just say print. We're going to say he or she lives in apartment number, and then we'll do some string interpolation here. So we're going to use our constant that we created inside the curly brace, which is called the apartment number. And then you'll be able to see that it printed out over here. All right. And also printed down here in my console. I don't feel like moving my square on my rectangle, so I'm gonna just keep it there. But obviously you can see that it did print out because it had some information in it. You know, this wasn't nil. The apartment number was not nil. It definitely had a string in there, 4468. And so you know, it gave us the information that we saw. That was the long way. Now, so if we were to make apartment number nil, for instance, so I'm going up here and I'm erasing the 4468 in my example. So I'm making that nil, and as you can see, our app doesn't crash or anything. Actually, I will move my rectangle. All right, so the app didn't crash. You don't see anything in the console. and it's because it was an optional to begin with. Now, if you didn't have if you didn't have the question mark for instance, like if you made street name nil or something like that, or building number nil, that would crash your app. All right, but because apartment number was an optional, it could have something or not. It can contain a value or not. Then none of this code, within these curly braces gets ran, and none of the constants are based, they're not assigned a value. And so we're fine there. So that was the long way. Now the short way is this. So you can actually do this. So we're going to go the short way. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this. If you guys need to, you can rewind this and look at it again. But this is the shorter way to do this. So optional chaining. So instead of assigning everything a constant like we just did in that example, you can do this. So you can say if let the apartment number equal, we'll say person dot residence question mark dot address question mark dot apartment number, and we want you to do this. I want you to print the same thing. He or she lives in apartment number, string interpolation, the apartment number. Now this is not going to print because why? Because our apartment number, my current apartment number is nil. But I'm going to fix that. So I'm going to go back to what was I saying? 4468, April 4th, 1968. All right. So apartment number 4468. And he or she lives in apartment number 4468. So as you can see, we did the same thing that we just did a second ago in just a few lines of code, but before it was like 8 or 9 lines of code, right? So that's the power of doing it this way, saving you some space, saving you some headache. The other way can be very, very confusing. So that's optional chaining for you guys in that situation. Look up some more examples and practice on your own. Try to erase everything that you just did, and kind of do it on your own and practice until you get this down. This is St. R. Edwards with Swift Coding for Everyone. Thank you guys for joining me. Stay tuned for more videos. Take care.